Well, I'm going to be truthful with you. So yes, we played squash last week.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to walk since. So my left leg, so my left knee is destroyed.
Yeah, because you told me you twisted it and then you fell when we played. So
Yeah, so I twisted it, and also my right arm so it was about a month since I last played squash, but I was in serious pain for a couple of days. How's the move to Dubai going? Like you've got your apartment now?
I'm very happy. Yeah, I'm very happy doing this move to Dubai. Everything is almost finished now in terms of administrative setting up. I'm about to get my Emirates ID next week. So
Emirates ID.
Yeah, it's a big thing, eh?
It's a big
thing for me. It's very symbolic. Yeah, it's very symbolic. It's like the end of a first step that I began like 6 months ago when I decided to move here.
Yeah,
so
it's a very intense thing, and so this is my third time that I've done a return, or the first time arriving in Dubai, and then I returned twice. So I've gone through that process 3 times.
Okay.
And it's really interesting. On one side, you're so excited about arriving in Dubai and your new life, but on the other side is the challenges of the bureaucracy. I've noticed that it's become kind of easier, but how did you find the bureaucratic process of working with the what is it, the Dubai Center of the Happiness Centers and everything? How did you find that?
I'm a lawyer, so I'm used to administrative work. Like it was part of my job. So it's not something that gets on my nerves easily or that I'm afraid of. I think that I've experienced much worse bureaucracy like nightmare. And here for me, it was okay. It was straightforward. I got help. I got people like who advised me. I think like with my experience that it was quite easy to do things. Even it takes always time, but
yeah, it's an interesting process, and I say that with how much it's evolved over the last. I came here in 2018. Just how much it's evolved. It's night and day, obviously, from say getting your European residency. Zara and I, we got our Italian residency a couple of years ago, and I still don't know how I did it. I actually, if someone asked me to tell them the process of how you get your residency in Italy, I still don't know, because I think most of it was just chance and the fact that maybe we knew the mayor and we knew the right person and blah, blah, blah. But I think with Dubai, what you see now is there's a real desire to want to streamline the process, want to digitize the process and basically make it as easy as possible.
No, I really feel here that there is a will to welcome people and they want it for the long-term development here. You can feel it. You can feel that you are welcomed. And even if any bureaucracy is always as it is, so it's very cold. Sometimes you can be afraid because you don't understand. It takes time. You don't have the answer immediately. You need to wait 1 week, 2 weeks. Maybe the answer will be no, and you are like stressed about it. But you have this feeling, but it's not only the bureaucracy. It's everywhere here in Dubai. You have the feeling that you are welcomed here as me, I'm French, so I'm considered maybe as a European here, maybe largely in the category of like a European guy, and you really feel that you are welcome here, and there is this reciprocity because here you find things that you don't find anymore in Europe now. I mean, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying that you just find things that you don't find in Europe anymore now. And everything works. This works very, very well. Like you feel that you are welcome here because you have something to give. And you find something here that you cannot find I cannot find in my home place anymore. So I'm very happy.
And it's interesting you say that, because if we take that a little bit further as well, I've been thinking about doing this podcast for years, right? But one of the things that really helped me crystallize and be motivated to do this is you and I think there was two other guys. We were at an evening brunch, maybe sort of 5-6 months ago, right?
Yeah.
And we were talking about just how in Dubai you meet interesting people. We were sitting there. I think I just completed a capital raise, which was 100 plus million in Singapore. We had you were telling us some fascinating stories about your cars. I'm hoping that we can talk about that today as well. We were sitting with a plastic surgeon. We won't talk about what he was telling us and some of his stories. And also I think we had a Romanian a software developer as well. And the conversation was so eclectic. It was so interesting. And coming back to your point around Dubai and opening its arms to welcome people and people with skills as well. And I'm not saying that I'm necessarily a high skill individual, but when I look at you're a corporate lawyer, plastic surgeon, we had an AI developer sitting with us. It seems to have what it's done is it's achieved in bringing some highly intelligent, highly interesting and talented people to the country as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, here in Dubai, you feel that there is still room here for intense work with reward. You can feel this. You can feel that there is a desire from the state not to be too intrusive. I'm talking about subsidies, or I'm talking about from an economic point of view. I mean, like, the zero tax environment is the first example. I mean, like, just do it, like, we give you all the means to succeed and just do it. And this is an environment that I really, really like. And as you said, it's very oriented on skills, work, and what you want to achieve. So I really like the spirit of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. On one side, what I found personally in my journey, and my wife, who's been here for 18 years, shares this view as well. On one side, by being in Dubai, it focuses you on the energy of output and work and productivity. And at the same time, you become very depoliticized. I don't even know if that's a word, but
I agree.
You're in this benevolent environment where politics and the things that agitated you in your home country, and I don't even look at my previous country, New Zealand, as my home country anymore, but the things that agitated me previously, due to whether it's state involved, whether it's, you talk about taxation, et cetera, the interaction that you have with the state is no longer a conversation piece or even something that features in your mind, so you become focused more on the output as an individual and being productive. Whereas in your home country, there's so much involvement. Whether it's who am I going to vote for, what's the impact going to be, what are property taxes, what are asset taxes, what's my income tax, etc. Here you can just turn up, providing you have the right skills, be productive, create an amazing environment that's safe, harmonious, in a beautiful country with great weather, and just get on with doing the things that you want to do.
Yeah. And in addition to the thing that we used to say about Dubai, which is safety, cleanness, the easiness of the daily life, which is real, which is huge. I mean, it's something that I feel that I didn't have anymore in France. For example, safety. I'm not saying that I wasn't in a safe environment. It's just that you just feel on a daily basis that there are things happening all around and that are dangerous. You just on a daily basis, you can just feel that you just look around your stuff when you are walking in the street, when you take the underground, like you just take your energy to look after what you have around and to be aware about am I at risk? And again, I'm not saying that anything happened to me. I'm not saying I wasn't safe, but when you arrive here, you just feel that all this energy that you were spending for a good or a wrong reason, You don't have it anymore. And this is, for me, something new that I discovered, like to have this weight away. This is very, very important for me. The cleanness also is something very, very important. But in cleanness, there is all this, you feel that it's not only about clean, the fact that things are clean, it's the fact that things are ruled. You just feel that there is like someone at the head of the country that is ruling it, and you feel that everyone is agreeing with the agreement. I mean the contract. Like I'm here to respect the rule, and everything's gonna be okay. But there is this agreement that the feeling of it in Europe is lost today. You have this feeling that if you do your job as a citizen, you don't have this ruling from the state with things that are safe, clean. It's just what a feeling. But,
it's interesting. Sorry to interrupt, but it's interesting. I recall doing politics and psychology at university, in the 90s, right? And the terminology is social contract, right?
Yeah.
That social contract, your responsibility, that is very palpable here in the UAE, right?
Yeah, you can feel
it. You know what also will happen if you break that contract as well, which is a very, very powerful thing. And if you can operate within those guardrails, you can have an amazing life.
I totally agree, and I think you can see it in reality when you are just walking around, when you are going in places with a lot of people. You can see that you have so many different cultures, like so many different colors of skin, so many people you can feel with different religious obedience, and it's difficult to admit that it seems that everything is working well. Like everyone is like living together in a very peaceful environment. But you just feel this because there are rules, and you can do what you want to do if you respect the rules. And I think that it's really something that has been lost in my home country. I mean, like the feeling of it, and I'm very happy to find it here and to be part of this, because when you arrive in Dubai, you feel that you are part of something. You are part of something that is growing, that is developing, that has a dream for the future. And this is feeling me a lot. Yes, I feel that I'm part of a project that has a brilliant future, and it's very exciting. This is very exciting.
It's so interesting. I'm watching you here, and I can see the passion and of the French, or that kind of that emotion, and you described it beautifully. But also, you're such a lawyer as well, right? You have that kind of ability to be able to put things very succinctly as well. So you have that rational part, but also the passionate part as well. I just want to, as we kind of wrap up about Dubai, come back to your point around safety as well. And, outside of Dubai, you've come from, Paris. I think you also spend quite a bit of time in the south of France. I've come from New Zealand, Italy, the UK. I lived in the US for a while. That lack of safety, for me, I don't have an issue in Italy. Italy's incredible. I live in the mountains. It's when we were purchasing a property in Italy, we actually asked the real estate agent what the crime was like, what was it like? And she just laughed at us. I think she said that there hadn't been a crime for about 20 years. So in the, rural areas of Italy, it's not an issue.
Yeah.
But in New Zealand, when Zara and I were in New Zealand, unfortunately, for about 6 months a couple of years ago, and we lived in the central city, and the amount, coming to your point, the amount of emotional effort that you put into your personal safety it's actually a waste. And like you said, when you come here, it's like a shroud is lifted off you. And the same for when we go to Italy. And I think about it in two parts. One is the impact that it has on you physiologically from a cortisol perspective, right? Stress, concern, worry. It manifests itself through the hormone cortisol. And that can have a very negative effect, whether you're a male or a female. And guys, it can create, you can put on weight, you can build fat around your tummy. Not to just say it's just bad for you to have too much cortisol going inside you. But at the same time, if you think about, you articulated it really well, where your mind is and the amount of effort that it's taking. Let's say you break up your day in, I don't know, you have 100 units of emotional, physical, spiritual intelligence that you can deliver to the world, right? I can maybe deliver 10 to the dog. I can deliver 60 to my wife, and the remaining 40, maybe it goes on work, et cetera, et cetera. You think about how much of those blocks are taken up worrying about personal safety, or just making sure that you walk the right route, you catch the right metro or what have you. And it's unproductive as well.
You're totally right. Yeah, I agree with you 100%, and that's what I felt. And you feel it very quickly here. It's a strong feeling. I was lucky to have in my life recently time to do a travel. I've ridden.
Didn't you ride a motorbike through
Yeah.
desert or something like that? Was that Qatar, or where did you do the motorbike?
South America. I did a 3 months trip. I did 20,000 kilometers.
Wow.
With a small motorbike.
What kind of bike?
It was a Royal Enfield.
You did it on a Royal Enfield?
Royal Enfield.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
They're the coolest bike.
yes,
Made in India, right?
It's made in India. Low range price bike, but very, very reliable. I set it up to travel, and I did this motorbike trip. And a lot of people told me like, "Whoa, it's going to be very dangerous, South America. You really need to look after you." Feeling of no safety, and I completely agree with your point. Like this safety feeling, it's a city problem. With my experience, like when you get out of the city, when you are in the countryside, like there is less people, so there is maybe less danger.
Yeah.
And I really felt it in doing all my trip, because I've never felt in danger during 3 months. I travel in Brazil, in Paraguay, in Bolivia, in Chile, in Peru. So I'm not saying that those countries are unsafe. It's not, but people told me like it's not. It will be unsafe to do this motorbike trip alone in a continent you don't know. And South America, I don't have the figures, I don't have the statistic in mind, but maybe in Brazil, when I was in Sao Paulo, for example, when you watch TV, you can see images of people killing other people on the highway because they are unhappy. I saw images that you see that and you're like, oh, it's an unsafe environment. But it's a very, I think it's a city. It's a city characteristic. It's an urban area characteristic. But when you go out and here in Dubai, what is extraordinary is you are in a city. You can feel that you have a lot of population, a lot of mixed population, and you don't have this even in a city environment. And I think that this is the for me why it feels so surprising. Yeah.
When you were traveling through South America, did the Royal Enfield break down any time? Was it a new one? Or?
Yeah, I bought a new one.
Wow. So you can buy them there, or did you have to get it shipped?
No,
somewhere?
I was able to buy one there. In terms of bureaucracy, this was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Because when you want to buy a bike in Brazil, you need to get a tax number, and to get this tax number, you need to go through a process, and no one there is here to help you, and no one has is interested in helping you, because like they don't know about the problem you're experiencing, because they don't know about people coming for 3 months who wants to who buy a bike. So you need to figure this yourself, but I managed it in about 10 days to figure out
Okay. Did you have to be there to manage it? To
yeah,
go
yeah,
through
of
the
course. Yeah,
process?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I arrived, the first day I arrived, I went to this motorbike shop. I asked them, I want to buy. And they said, great, we want to sell. Do you have this tax number? No, you need this tax number. Okay, so you need to deal with the administrative
Yeah.
here
Wow.
to get this. It's called CPF. I mean, like
Yeah, yeah.
people in Brazil
Yeah, I think
know.
Zara
know. Yeah,
has one, and it's the same in, say, Italy. It's codice fiscale. Yeah, which
maybe.
is very
Yeah.
challenging to get.
And what it was your question? I don't want
Did it
to.
break down?
Oh yes, no, absolutely not. No, no. I fell down several
Really?
times with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of roads are not good quality in South America. So you have time when you are in the sand, in the
Yeah.
mud. So it's very easy to
No,
fall.
it's before the 2004 tsunami, 2004, the big tsunami in Asia. I spent some time in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. I don't know if you know where that is, but it's kind of off the east coast of India. You have to
Okay.
fly from Calcutta. It's actually an island that's closer to Thailand, but it's owned by India.
Okay.
And there's a place called Port Blair, fascinating place in the 90s. And I had a Royal Enfield for, I think it was maybe 3 weeks, and rode it around the islands, and it was fantastic. It's such a great bike.
It's great back. Yeah.
It's one of those unusual things. You know what I'm going to, because you know about my Fiat, right? So I have a Fiat in Italy, and he's blue, and I say he, and we call him Bluigi. So he's a Fiat Panda.
It's a great car too.
I love this car, right? It's I don't know, it's like a 2010 Fiat Panda.
But it's a very well-known car from a car history.
Absolutely.
It made history. It is 4x4.
Yeah, it's a
Panda.
4x4, and it's called a climbing. So as in like it's climbing. And there's something about that car, like a Royal Enfield, the modesty of the mechanics and the simplicity that makes you love that car and that bike. And I think the Royal Enfields have that same thing, right? You're so connected to the machine.
Yeah, I totally agree. When you want to travel far away, you really don't want to have like too much weight, and you want something reliable. So if it's possible today, the less electronics in it. You really want something mechanic, because in South America, I think in large places of the world, you can always find something to fix mechanics, but electronics, it could be a big challenge. So when you are somewhere you don't know, I think it's safer to go for simple mechanic things, because you will be able to find help, even if like the most remote place, you always find something that can help you.
Yeah, you're really into cars, right?
Yeah, I have a passion for vintage cars, for sports cars.
You have a passion, and you have the money to have the passion as well, which is because I have a passion as well. I just have the passion as well.
Yeah.
What kind of cars do you have?
Today I have several cars, but I had a lot of cars in my life. I run a company, a digital startup for 6 years. I launched it from scratch, and I sold it in 2024.
Mabruk, which is congratulations in
Thank you.
Arabic. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I managed to mix one of my core project from the moment I was a very young child, which was create value. And create value for me at that time in life was launching a company and sell it. This was my creation of value point of view that I had. So I wanted to do it. And I mixed this motivation with my passion for cars and for sports cars. So it was a buy and sell digital startup company for vintage cars. And yes, that's the way I could be able to live this passion, to live in the middle of cars in a digital environment, in a startup world with these funding challenges, these hiring people challenges, these all these goal reaching environment on a daily basis with a lot of stress, which was an extraordinary experience. But today I'm happy it's done.
Happy to have exited.
Yeah, happy to have exited. And so now, from a as someone passion who has passion for cars, I've experienced it. So today it's still here, but I feel that I need it less, because here in Dubai, even if you see beautiful cars everywhere, it's not a place to live your passion for cars here, because you have not a lot of roads to drive. So I decided to put this in suspension for a time.
So your cars are in France.
Yeah.
Which says a lot about you, because I grapple with the premise of ego, the male ego, right? You live in Dubai, you love cars, but you don't have a car in Dubai.
No.
And that says a lot to me about a man, right? Is that you can, maybe I could sort of draw some parallels. I have a nice car here in Dubai, but in Italy, I drive a car that you would, drive off the road. And it's not about the car, it's about the love for the mechanics. But I think that's is a really interesting concept, and it says a lot about you, that you just don't need a car here. And it seems that you have this passion for automobiles and the mechanics, and it's more about the driving them on the right roads, and also they're mainly classic cars, right?
Yeah. For example, next week I will go back to France to see my parents, and half of my time in France I will spend it with my cars in south of France. To drive them, to go and say hello to the mechanics I know, to go and get the car watched.
What's your favorite car? What's your favorite car that you have that you get back and you just go, I love you?
In France, we have this concept of Madeleine de Proust, which is something that recalls you nice memories, like a nostalgia. And for me, the car I have in my heart is from the brand Lotus, which is a UK brand.
It's a British brand.
A British brand from Colin Chapman. And
are you going to get in trouble with your French friends for saying this? But this is nostalgic, though, right?
Yeah. And it's Elise.
Okay.
So Lotus
Beautiful.
Elise. It's a car I fell in love with when I was like 14.
Okay.
Year old.
Did James Bond have a Lotus Elise?
No, he had Lotus.
Yeah.
But it wasn't an Elise. Yeah, it was a very famous car, the car I drove, because it was a submarine car. They made it a submarine car.
Okay.
It was like a white Lotus that went into the water.
I think I had a toy one. That's as far as I got to a Lotus, and it fired out little rockets out the back of the
maybe,
the back of the car.
Maybe, yeah. But it's the same car as in Basic Instinct. You have this
With Kim Basinger.
Yeah. So it's a very famous car, but mine it's an Elise, and so it's my
Okay. What I find interesting is, so you succeeded at business, you founded, and this is the podcast that I do revolve around this premise of ikigai, which is the Japanese model of, how you find purpose in life, what you're good at, what you love, what you get paid for, and what you can have impact in the world. And it seems to me that you achieved that through the business that you set up, that you created, and that you exited as well, because you have to be remunerated, and you get remunerated through your exit. But there's a there's a gap between what you did and what you trained to do. So you're a corporate lawyer by training. You went to university in Paris, is that correct?
Yeah.
So I want to ask you this question, and it's quite dear to my heart. So my son is 17, and he's getting ready to finish his final year and go to university. Outside of I'd love to know what it would be like to go to university in Paris.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I imagine it would be lots of fun. But outside of that kind of the fun and the enjoyment that you can have at going to university, do you think it's relevant to go to university now? Or should people be looking to just get out there and set up a business like you did, follow their passion? Or is there some sort of balance? How did it work for you being highly skilled, but also being entrepreneurial, which are kind of they're two separate parts of your brain. And often you get people who are just highly skilled and very methodical, but they don't have the entrepreneurial part, but you have both. What would be your advice to someone who's considering going to university or considering setting up a business or just leaving school?
This is a very difficult question.
Good.
Very, very difficult.
It's designed to be.
But
you're a smart guy, Luke.
Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah.
But spontaneously, my experience is I did a business school in France. I went to law school after to become a lawyer. So first I worked in finance. I worked in London in a bank for 1 year. I didn't like it. It was in 2008, so the year Lehman Brothers fell down. So it was like a nightmare to work in this finance area in London. I decided to do law because all my family were in the law business.
Did you have pressure from the family? Was it sort of palpable pressure, or did you just feel it inside you? Were your parents telling you, "Hey, you should do law"?
I wouldn't say pressure because it feels that I didn't have the choice. I would just say that I was invited.
Okay.
I was invited to do law, so I did it. And I began as a tax lawyer because I wanted to mix finance and law. So I was kind of an entrepreneur because in my business school, I launched a business with my sister in the fashion industry for like 3 years. When I was a lawyer in Paris, you are not an employee. I mean, you can be, but most of lawyers in Paris are not. And you must develop your own business on the side of the law firm that is giving you work. So you begin to be an entrepreneur. I mean, like, you can always say no, but me, a third of my work was dedicated to developing my own business.
Okay.
And that's how I met a lot of entrepreneurs at that time, because you just sell your services, and as you are a young lawyer, you don't cost a lot, and you can even sometimes give for free, and you can get shares of new startups because you just give your time. It's the way it works. I met this entrepreneur I was very close with, and he asked me at a moment in my career if I wanted to launch a business with him, and that's how I launched my startup. But to go back to your question, I think if you want to become an entrepreneur, I think that there is no university that will make you learn how to become an entrepreneur. The only thing you can do is to launch businesses, and so my first answer would be no. Like there is no way I would recommend any university in the world to teach you what you will never be teach unless you do it, because launching a company is doing it. But if what you want to do requires to learn things, if you want to become an engineer, for example, or you manage to learn yourself very quickly, efficiently, and you are like someone that don't need a teacher, or you need to go to the best engineering school. If you want to become a lawyer, for example, you need to study law. And me, I was an entrepreneur through my law experience. I was someone skilled in finance, in law, and in any subjects around those fields. So HR, I could manage it. After sales, all this tax, I could do all this in my company, but I never had this energy that my partner had, which was the energy of of someone who is visionary, someone who is eager to take risk, someone who has deep conviction with apparently no skills, no university background, but you have. It's the simple answer for me is like, if you want to become an entrepreneur, a leader, like the top of it, yeah, there is no university I would recommend to do, except for building your network, which is something so important. So I think that people who go to the best university in the world, for example, I would say Harvard, I think that there is a lot of it to make a network with the most influential people who could be like so helpful when you want to launch a company. And if you have a skill, a real skill you want to develop, which could be like mathematics or AI, if something like something we talk a lot about today, you need to learn it. So maybe you go to a specific university or you learn it yourself, but you don't have the choice.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I often think, I completely agree with you as well. I think that if you look at university as, firstly, if you choose the right university, it's a great incubator for networks, business contacts, and ideas as well.
Yeah.
Because it's a fertile ground for knowledge and knowledge sharing. So first and foremost, but secondly, when I look at how I've used my degree, and my degree is, not at the level of yours. It was, I did management, I did architecture, I followed a girl to do architecture.
Yeah, nice.
And I did just your standard bachelor's in ancient history and classical studies, which has no real world use. I wanted to be a teacher, I wanted to be an archaeologist, blah, blah, blah. But when I look at that degree, that piece of paper, what it's given me is it's given me openings where openings weren't available before. And it's given me an insurance policy. And I think that the term insurance policy is really important. And this is how I explain to my kids. I got 2 teenagers, right? Is that, and also Zara, she has a son who's 28. That's my wife. And when we talk about tertiary education, I always think about having your degree as a backup, right? Now, a backup in 2 ways. One, like you, I've always had the entrepreneurial spirit. I founded a company in 2012, exited in 2017, not as successful as yours because I don't have the beautiful cars, but I still exited successfully.
Congrats.
That particular piece of founding the company, I actually funded it through having a good income leading up to that. Right? So having the money in place from applying my degree, getting in the right role, financial services, working with data and being able to leverage off my degree to get to that point where I could fund my own business. And the same thing is now, let's just hypothetically say that business didn't succeed. I could still fall back on my degree to then be able to, all was not lost. And I think that what I've seen with, if I look at my father as an example, he was a very successful man, but also had some very, very big challenges as well later in life, financial challenges. My dad was always a salesperson, right? He didn't have that. He came from the UK. He immigrated to New Zealand. He had $100 in his back pocket, that kind of story when he arrived in New Zealand. Yeah. But he didn't have that safety net, that fallback of if things didn't work out, how could I apply my hard skills? And that's the kind of bit that I think worries me for my kids. I get that they want to, they see on TikTok that you can set up a, drop shipping company or like e-commerce influencer, AI models, blah, blah, blah. But I worry sometimes that if that doesn't work, they need to be able to fall back on a degree. And actually, case in point, in this region here, if you want to be able to come and do self-sponsorship outside of owning property, or you want to be able to take a role here in the UAE, you need to have a degree. It's as simple as that. There's certain bands of recruitment and certain bands of sponsorship here from various companies and self-sponsorship where you have to have your degree. So I self-sponsored and had to provide all of the degree. They double, triple check the university, etc. So it provided me the comfort to be able to sponsor myself here in the UAE. So I see some value, but the question is, if we look at, say, law, and you talked about artificial intelligence, right? You know, what I would have thought, and with all due respect to lawyers, I like some lawyers. I haven't loved most lawyers that I've met. I love you. You're a great guy, right?
Thank you so much.
Yeah. But I see you as an anomaly. No, I'm joking. But tell me, I think that AI is, if there was going to disrupt one particular industry, if there was one that I'd want it to disrupt, it would be law. And if it's one that I think it could disrupt, it would be law. And I'm not talking so much around the ethical side, but I'm talking about tort law. I'm talking about that kind of the minutiae of law. What's your view on that? Am I just being hopeful, or is that something that you and the legal community see is going to happen?
Yeah. First, I want to add something about what you said about the university grade and the backup. You were asking me about to become an entrepreneur. I think there are two worlds: create your own job or being the employee of someone. Of course, if once in your life you need to work for someone, you need to have like something to sell before being employed. So you need to have to sell a grade, or you need to sell a brand. You need to brand yourself, and this you can only do today with what you achieved. So past job. But when you want to have a job, you need to apply first. And so, of course, it's mandatory to have the best brand on your CV. But if you want to be an entrepreneur and create your own job, I think like those grades are not very useful. It's just the because a lot of people that I met in my life wanted to be entrepreneurs, but deep in themselves, they wanted to develop themselves in an entrepreneur environment, and to sell a skill, you know. And being an entrepreneur, I don't think it's a skill. I think it's just something else. And when you want to sell a skill, you need to brand yourself. So of course you need to have this backup and everything. But I just wanted to add this.
No, that's true. But just on that as well, that entrepreneurial piece, there is something that is often missed. Not meaning to sort of dive off, but to be an entrepreneur, you have to have one fundamental ingredient, and that is self-belief, because you're putting yourself out for failure. And most startups fail. I think it's 95% of technology startups fail. So if you don't have that genuine self-belief, not just in the idea, but in yourself, and that you're prepared to fail and prepared to be judged, then if you don't have that self-belief, you can never become an entrepreneur as well.
Of course.
Yeah.
I agree. And when it comes to AI in law, this is huge, what's happening now. Me, from my experience, I was a lawyer when I began to be a lawyer in 2013, and I was a lawyer until 2018. The big change AI gave, has given until now, it's the time you need to search information. For example, as a lawyer, when you do litigation, you need to sometimes get information about all the past results of other litigation. This is very time consuming, because you need to read a lot, you need to search a lot. And before, with search engines as Google, for example, it was very difficult to find, because the vocabulary is always there. You don't find the exact word, or the engine, the search engine is not sensitive enough to understand that you want to be in that field and not in this other one, which is very, very close, but it's not the point you want to go in. In law, it's very sensitive. So AI bring to lawyers this extraordinary power to be able to search things with a level of preciseness So time, and so this solved this time consuming, and it changes a lot. When you begin low, usually you are an intern, and you are the one searching, and this is completely changing the way you begin in a law firm.
But just looking at that, is the lawyer, once you do that, because what artificial intelligence is in effect, it's access to data. So the most data you can have, the better. And although legal data is not finite, what you're talking about is historical data in this example, right? Historical data set. So it's access to the data and it's your compute power. Those are really effectively what artificial intelligence is. And then you have the large language models sitting on top of that. In the example that you used, is the lawyer not just becoming an intermediary, a search function in that instance? Because previously the skill, I'm not talking about interpretation of the law, judges, etc., sentencing, all of the nuances there, but is the lawyer not just an expensive search engine? And now you can effectively remove the lawyer. Yes, it's making lawyers' lives easier, but if you actually take the lawyer out, can you not just give that power then to the person who has the legal requirements, who has the legal need? Is the lawyer redundant?
It's very difficult for me to answer. I would say no, because if you see law only as something like mathematic, say like you put A, you put B, and you would get C. Of course, you are completely right.
I do.
Sorry?
I do see law as mathematical, but the interpretation not. So that's my question.
I think that it's like the other industry. The everything that will be about solving simple problems, I think lawyers will be redundant, yes. Except for people who need to have a human being in front of them and who give them the answer. So yes, of course. But when you go to what is the core of law is to solve problems between human. Sometimes law is just a tool to solve the problem, but it's not the only one. You have like the intelligence, the imagination, the psychology, and lawyers are the only one today who can like give this service to people to be able to have the knowledge, to know how to use the knowledge, and to and to advise with this psychology experience, with all the flows of the bureaucracy. For example, you have to have an experience. But of course, if you imagine a world where everything is ruled by robots or everything, of course, maybe this.
Yeah, and I mean, I choose law not be. I was being facetious when I said I'm an antagonist against lawyers. I'm not. It's just that it's very expensive. So if you think about the deployment of artificial intelligence, which is really just automation, right? It's the automation of tasks to be able to do it better, faster, cheaper, and legal counsel. I've been the chief executive of a number of companies where you have legal counsel. It's extremely expensive to have in-house legal counsel. It's even more expensive to use out-house legal counsel. And so if you could remove that, like say what businesses are doing now with marketing, right? Marketing is not needed. Marketing is the first cab off the rank, because now marketing is mathematical, it's statistical. It's about, CPA, cost per acquisition, cost per lead, cost per conversion, etc. It's just pure maths. So if you can remove marketing out of your business easily, why can't you remove one of the most expensive overheads, especially if you want to keep it in-house? Then I think that it makes a lot of logic. And then if you're looking at what's happening with developers, I think there was I don't know whether it was Elon Musk, but someone was saying last week, I read an article that in 10 years, developers are done, right? Don't do coding at university because you're not going to be needed. And right now AI can write code for you, right? Whether it's front end code. So you think about when you did your application, right? I don't know what the technology you were using previously, but if I look at, say, step 5-6 years back, you had to do Android development and you had to do iOS, Apple development separate. Then came Flutter, and Flutter is a tool that, you just do one code, which does both. So you can code once and do Android and iOS. But now you have AI, and I can hop on, for $19 a month, I can hop on a tool that can just pretty much create all of the front end, all of the APIs for an application without any developer whatsoever. It's purely automated and beautiful UI UX, where I don't need to fight with a designer. So the question is, if that can happen to an entire industry, surely it can happen to lawyers.
You agree? I agree with you. There is one thing that I think you will not replace about lawyers is their legal responsibility. Mm-hmm. I still don't know how you will be able to have a responsibility from AI.
What about doctors? I mean, the doctors are the same. That's exactly the same issue. Mm-hmm. So we're saying, again, doctors are going to be replaced in the next decade as well. But the key point is, what about the responsibility? Who bears the liability, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in the litigation field, I can easily see that you can have a lot of problems solved with AI easily. In the advice field, for example, when you want to buy a company and you want to enter into a big negotiation about the price, you often need to create new ways of thinking, a new approach. You need to use creativity, and I think that I don't see how AI could advise me as a lawyer can do to a 3-6 month 1 year negotiation to buy a big company. I don't see how it can do it now.
And that's, if you look if you look at a visual representation of where skills lie in the coming 20-25 years requirement, those soft skills, empathy, creativity, etc., appear to be the areas of most importance. That doesn't mean that everyone who's, happy and doesn't have a degree or doesn't have any education can just suddenly become, high-skilled individuals because they have good EQ. Not at all. But being able to understand nuance, context, and context comes through experience and learning, right? To be able to be more effective as well. And so if we look at that creativity piece, right? I live with a very creative person. She's written a book. She was, working for the main airline here in the UAE for a number of years. And she went through this kind of whole process of this creativity of using a different side of her brain from working as cabin crew here in the UAE. You're writing a book, right?
Yeah.
I think that was one of the first when we met, maybe 6 or 7 months ago. That was one of the first discussions that we had.
When I was a child, I loved to paint.
Okay.
I was always filled of emotions that I wanted to express. I think I've lost this when I was maybe 15. When I understood that I needed to concentrate on succeeding in what is in our Occidental world succeeding, which is like having money. It's the simplest way to express it today. So
and also success is viewed as being happy now, right?
Yeah, but this is something new for me.
It's an antithesis, right?
Yeah. This is something new. But so you just put your emotions back, and when I sold my company, I just realized that I was lucky to be able to tick a box on my bucket list and to say okay, so now I want to work on myself and I want to be sure that the next step will be something that I really want, but myself. So I began to work on myself, and I was very lucky to have this time that life was offering me to look at me and to concentrate on reading, on working on what I really wanted. And I realized a lot of things. I worked with a psychologist, and And I had I had a wife for 10 years. We unfortunately divorced because of an issue about kids, and this kid issue was so huge for me because it was like an inner battle. It was like, I think the simplest way of telling it, it's to like the battle between the brain and the heart. You just feel like, as I'm a man, want to use only my brain to achieve my goal. And when you do this, I was like, okay, now do I have something in my heart? And when I told myself this, I had all these emotions back from when I was a child coming back, and all this artistic expression that I had in me arrived at once, and I began to write, to read all the time, to get information, and so now I'm writing a book about the desire to have kids, and I'm writing on this subject from the woman point of view. So I've interviewed 50 women so far.
Wow.
And I'm doing a search for myself first, a search in the mainly in literature, from the antique Greek literature to the Bible until now, on all the art that tackled the subject of love. I'm searching about all the signs, the symbols of the desire to have kids in love. And what I realized so far is that love, as human express it in the art, doesn't give a lot of place to the expression of desire to have kids.
Okay.
And I'm searching this, and I'm writing about this. To give like a very simple example, everyone know Romeo and Juliet love story. If it's the way we idealize love, there is no words, even not one word about the desire to have kids. So it just to give us a simple example of what I'm writing about. I'm writing about this silence for what I think is the most important thing as a human species, is to reproduce ourselves. And I think that love is the way we achieve this. And it's just surprising that in the expression of what is love in the arts, there is so little importance given to the desire to have kids, which is like the core of the.
That's a fascinating thing, and you can almost maybe draw a parallel. We talked about at the beginning that if we hypothetically, if we have 100 units of focus that we can give on every day, right? And we only have a finite amount of time, that's for sure. We only have a finite amount of attention that we can provide on a day. If we think about children, right? Outside of the concept of where does having children fall in that conversation of love between a man and a woman, if I think about, it's ironic that when you have kids, what they do is they take a lot of those blocks, those 100 blocks. Maybe they take 60 of those 100 that you have available that you were previously applying that attention to your partner, right? Your wife, your partner, etc. And when those kids come along, they kind of rip away all of that attention. So not only is it not discussed when you're truly in love, but then when you have children, they tend to also take away a lot of your attention and capacity to maybe be in love. It changes the dynamic of love as well. And that love is then often directed to the children. But that's a different kind of love. It's such a fascinating concept.
Yeah. And that's what I give most of my time now, and it gives me a lot of meaning. So I'm very happy